it's just nice. You can just hang out in an actual chair. Also keep in mind that, okay, so I read this great meme at some point in time, and it was written in such a way that I just laughed out loud. And it said, I was doing online yoga, and the yoga instructor was demonstrating this really difficult pose. And so I turned my video off and I went and made breakfast. So that is another great thing about online yoga. We can just kind of do what we need to do for ourselves. So in starting Not Your Daughter's Yoga, I just want to remind ourselves that you can give yourself permission to sit out at any point in time during class. And this would be equivalent to coming into child's pose or just a down dog, walking away from your computer. And if those poses aren't comfortable, like the child's pose, just grabbing a chair nearby. So anyway, that's just my little intro here. I'm going to set my chair at the top of my mat, probably 2-3 feet out of the way. And we're going to come into a nice Sukhasana position about the middle of our mats. And close your eyes, sitting up nice and tall. And let's just maybe wiggle, maybe sway, whatever's comfortable for you, just to kind of settle in. And then begin to breathe. So begin to inhale in through the nose, full breath, and exhale, letting all that breath out. So just like inflating a balloon, filling all the way up, sipping in as much air as you can. And then just like a pinprick to a balloon, just letting that air out very slowly. Inhale, filling up. And just that little pinprick. We're going to see if we can lengthen those inhales and especially the exhales. So let's inhale for 3 counts. Let's all do that together. 1, 2, 3. Pause, and then pinprick. Exhale for 4. Inhale for 3. Pause here, pinprick, and exhale. Keep trying to lengthen that inhale and exhale. Inhale, filling up. And exhale. Let's add the arms. Next inhale, reach the arms way out wide and all the way up overhead. Roughly a 3 or 4 count inhale. Pause at the top. Exhale, float down. Nice. Inhale, reach up. Full breath. When you get to the top of your breath, take your gaze up, pausing, lengthening the body, and exhale. Slow as you can, let that breath out. Last time, inhale, reach up. Gaze up, stretch, fingertips reaching, elbows extending, and exhale. Very nice. All right, close the eyes here and just gently tense your fingertips very lightly to the ground, out to the sides. So you're sitting up nice and tall and you just have these very light fingertips. Eyes are closed. And then you're just going to start to walk the right fingertips out in front and the left fingertips behind you. So you're just twisting to your left as the right hand walks over and the left hand walks back. Once you've twisted, you can open your eyes, maybe take a little gaze at how far you've twisted. You can make that imaginary mark on the wall behind you. And then take another inhale, fill up, and then exhale, just untwist. So you're walking your hands all the way back out to both sides. All right, and then just begin to take this left hand in front, twisting light fingertips. So just, it's like you're like a maypole and you're just reaching those arms out to the sides, light fingertips. Your torso is nice and tall, looking over that right shoulder. Take a nice deep inhale. And then exhale, coming back to the center. Perfect. Okay, let's bring the soles of the feet together. And take your thumbs and just do a nice little massage here on the inner soles of your feet. So we kind of neglect those feet sometimes. And just kind of get right in there with your, if your thumbs bother you, you can use your fists and just kind of use those knuckles to massage on the soles of the feet. So one thing I've noticed during this pandemic is I'm barefoot a whole lot more. It's rare that I put shoes on because I'm not going out very much. So walking around flat-footed is not great for plantar fasciitis. So just kind of getting that nice massage into the inner sole of the feet. And then you can take your peace fingers to the big toes, press those palms together, let the knees fall open. Sit up nice and tall. Take a nice deep inhale. And then on your exhale, draw your chest forward. Maybe the elbows reach out to the sides. If you're kind of pulling on the big toes as the elbows go out to the sides and then the soles of the feet are pressing in towards each other. Make sure that you're feeling this in the hips and not in the back. If you feel this too much in your middle back, then just kind of come up a little higher. You want to be hinging right at the hips. Perfect. And then inhale, come on back up. Nice. All right, take your right hand all the way across your body and set it onto your left knee. And then twist to the left and just reach that left arm up while you're twisting. Your little arm stretch here and your twist. Twisting open to the left. And then exhale, release. And then take your left hand across your body to that right knee. And then reach up with the right arm. And just keep trying to twist open to the right. And looking underneath that right armpit as much as possible. Try to stay grounded between both sitting bones so that you're not kind of leaning to your left. All right, exhale, release. How about one more time? Right arm reaches across and left arm reaches up. twisting open. Again, grounding evenly between the sitting bones. Exhale, release. Left arm reaches across, right arm up. Draw the navel to the spine, sitting up as tall as you can in this spiral twist of the spine. And exhale, release. Okay, now we're just going to come back to Sukhasana. So crossing the ankles in front of each other, we're going to set our hands on top of the knees. Just going to do a little seated cat and cow. So inhale, lift the heart. Maybe rock the pelvis forward a little bit. So your navel is kind of drawing forward, your chin is lifting up. And then you're squeezing your elbows in towards your torso. And on the exhale, rounding seated cat pose. Hang on to the knees, draw the navel to the spine, chin to the chest. And just continue to breathe here. Inhale, lifting the heart. And exhale. This is also a great seated cat-cow that you can do from a chair. If there's ever a reason that you're not wanting to sit onto the ground, you can sit on the edge of a chair and do the same movement. Legs can be crossed or they can be planted to the chair ground. Moving with your breath. One more round. Inhale, lift the heart, lift the gaze. Squeeze the elbows towards your midline. And exhale, rounding, navel to spine, chin to the chest. Much gentler on the knees than our traditional cat-cow when we're hands and knees. All right, come back up to a neutral position. Beautiful. All right, take your legs straight out in front of us. We're coming into stick pose, our Dandasana, and then draw those palms right down next to the hips. Flex at the ankles. So you're really engaging the front of the thighs, maybe the heels come off the ground, maybe about an inch. Inhale, reach the arms up. Notice that you have this great L shape, and then exhale, hinge and fold forward. Let the arms come on down to either side of the legs. Keep drawing those toes towards you, reaching through the heels. Let's inhale, just come on up part way. Create some length in your spine, and then exhale, fold again. Don't worry about grabbing those feet. Even if you can grab the feet, it's probably better for our spines and our hamstrings to just hinge at the hips. All right, inhale, reach the arms back up. Perfect. And palms come together, slide those hands down all the way to the heart space. Perfect. From here, we're going to grab this right knee and just kind of draw it into your chest. If you want, you can kind of circle that knee around. And then set that right foot just on the outside of the left knee. Sit up nice and tall. You can kind of squeeze that knee to the chest, and you're squeezing the legs to the midline. Let's inhale, take both arms up. And on your exhale, we're turning to the right. So this left arm can pass in front of the right thigh. You can hold on to the leg if that's more comfortable for you. And then think about that really light hand on that right side. So fingertips are really light, just like we twisted earlier with the maypole example. Nice tall torso. One more breath here. Inhale. And exhale, coming back. Let's take both legs out in front of us. And we're just going to hug that left knee in. Circle the hip if you'd like. Set that left foot on the outside of the right knee. So you want to flex the right foot, so that straight leg, and just keep all of that engaged. Legs kind of drawing into the center. Inhale, reach both arms up. And then on your exhale, twisting to the left. That right arm passes in front, perhaps, of that left thigh, or alternately, you can just kind of grab a hold of this left thigh or knee. And then think about that really light fingertips on this left hand. You should easily be able to pick this left hand up instead of leaning back like a kickstand. Draw the navel to the spine. One more inhale. Perfect. And exhale. Go ahead and release both legs out in front of you. Maybe a little bounce of the knees. Awesome. Bouncing the asana. All right. We're going to come to hands and knees, but we're not going to be there terribly long because we've already done our cat and cow, right? Our seated cat and cow. So let's take this right foot forward. That's to that right hand. Just begin to shift into a nice low lunge. And then let's just tuck the left toes under and lift that back left knee. So that's going to be easier on the kneecap, right? And lengthen through that left heel. Now just hover here with the fingertips super light. So we're not putting any pressure into the hands. If you need anything to help balance yourself, you can always take the blocks on either side. But our core is working here to keep us upright, fingertips light. And then we're just going to stretch our fingertips forward. Maybe the chair's within reach, maybe it's not, but just reach forward, hinging and reaching at the hips. Feel that core engaged. And then exhale, take the hands down to the mat. And we'll drop back to hands and knees. And let's come into our first child's pose. Hips reach back towards the heels. Forehead dips down to the mat. And again, if the forehead doesn't reach the mat, you guys all know the options. You can set your forehead on top of your hands. You can make fists and set your forehead on top of your fists. Think about that nice deep breath. Slowing the breath down. Alrighty, come on up to hands and knees again. We'll step this left foot forward, coming into our nice low lunge. So tuck the right toes under, reach back through that right heel. Fingertips are super light. In order to get there, again, you can use the blocks to help steady yourself. Ideally, if you look back at that right foot, I was a little off balance on the other side. Notice that your legs should be in 2 track lines. You're not in one tightrope. You don't want this right foot directly behind the left heel. So hover the fingertips and then reach them forward, straight ahead, horizontal pathway. Gaze is down at your left big toe. Really feel that core working. And then exhale, hands come down. Step back, hands and knees, and root the hips back to child's pose. So again, we'll just take a few breaths here. Tuck the chin to your chest so that you're getting a little bit of flexion here in the neck. The back of the neck is stretching. Alrighty. Coming up to hands and knees, spreading the fingers wide. Tuck your toes under. We'll come into our first down dog. Root the hips back. Keep a slight bend into the knees. Very important. Now your heels are reaching towards the mat, but it's not necessary for them to touch. They're just moving in that direction. Lengthening the spine. Gazes back at that upper thigh crease, pushing away with the bases of all 10 fingers. Take a couple of nice deep breaths. Feel that opening in your shoulders. Option to pedal the legs out here if you'd like. We've done a little bit of stretch on the hamstrings already. And then look up to your hands. Increase that bend into your knees. Take as many steps forward that you need for a forward fold. Make sure your feet are a little more than hip distance apart. And then as you fold here, you can reach your hands to the opposite elbows. And draw your chest toward your thighs. So make sure you're giving yourself as much knee bend as possible to reach that chest to the thighs. You want to get rid of as much daylight between the thighs and the chest as possible. And you're giving yourself a little bit of support here to the low back by doing it this way. Let go, hang heavy, maybe shake your head yes, shake your head no. Getting rid of all this upper body tension by hanging. Of course, this is an inversion pose, bringing blood to the brain. And then inhale, take your hands to the top of your shins, lengthen up halfway. Gazes down at the floor. And start to engage the muscles between the shoulders so that you get that nice flat back. Very good. All right, exhale, fold. Increase the bend of the knees, root to rise. Let's press all the way up to standing. Palms meet overhead. And then exhale, slide those hands down to your heart space. We're just going to pause here in Anjali Mudra. Get back in touch with that breath. Maybe perhaps that Ujjayi breath where you can hear your breath by making a little bit of constriction in the back of your throat. Eyes could be open or closed. And then let's bend our knees and come into Uttanasana, chair pose. So root the hips down. Now, ideally, if these feet are hip distance apart, then the thighs are hip distance apart. So something that's also interesting to learn online is you can actually look at that screen and see what these knees are doing, right? We don't want to be all the way out here. We don't want to be knock-kneed. We want those thighs to be parallel in our chair pose. So sit nice and deeply. Keep the chest lifted. Palms right there at the heart space. Maybe sit a little deeper, firing up that root chakra. Take another deep inhale, and then begin to fold over. So your chest is reaching to the thighs. On your next inhale, come on up halfway, hands to the top of the shins. Gives our low back a little bit of support. This time, exhale, bend the knees as far as they'll go. Set the palms to the mat. Reach each leg back to plank. Now, option to stay in full plank or dip those knees down to low plank. And as we lower, we want to hug those elbows in towards our rib cage. Go down nice and slow, chaturanga. And on our inhale, you can come up to a traditional cobra or perhaps just kind of up to your forearms for a Sphinx pose. Press the tops of your feet, the thighs into the mat. Breathe here. And then exhale, hands come on either side of the chest. So you want about a 90-degree angle right at your elbows. And let's just press back to child's pose, just for an exhale. Inhale, sweep those hips forward, low plank. Exhale, lower chaturanga. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, back. Child's pose. And one more round. Inhale, low plank. Exhale, lower. Inhale, peel up. Open that heart space. Use those back muscles. Exhale, hips, reach back. Child's pose. Next inhale, hips come forward, low plank. Go ahead and lower chaturanga. And then let's come back up to our forearms for that Sphinx pose. You got it. So I know, I always say this, it is so comfortable just to like slouch down. Actually, let's all do that just for a moment. See how comfortable it feels to just really sag to the floor. So you can feel that those shoulders are jutting up right by your ears, right? Really comfortable. And then press tops of the thighs, lengthen through the crown of the head. Feel yourself growing longer and taller with the spine. Press into the forearms, reach, reach, reach up. Almost like a line here pulling you up from the pubic bone all the way up through the crown of the head. And then exhale, scrunch back down, sag. You can even drop the head. Just hang here. Just kind of hanging here. It's almost just like you're propped. There's really no physical effort going on, just propping on the forearms. And then once again, inhale, energize, lengthen, press. Very good. All right, this time, exhale, lower, draw the hands back to where they're about the chest level. Squeeze the elbows in towards your rib cage. Let's tuck our toes under. And we're going to muscle our way up either to a full plank or a low plank. Slight bend to the knees. Root your hips back, downward facing dog. Again, slight bend to the knees. Lengthen the spine. Root the heels towards the mat. Easy breath. All right, we're going to take this right leg up behind us, three-legged dog. Extend through the toes, the heel, the ankle, the knee, the hip, and then draw that knee forward. And we're going to try to set that right foot right between the hands. All right, plant that back left foot, opening it up to the left side. We're going to cartwheel our arms up to warrior two. Gazes over your right fingertips. Lift that right palm up, and we will reverse our warrior. And next inhale, come back up to warrior two. Cartwheel the hands down to the mat. Just pause here in your lunge. Reach through that back left heel. Plant the hands to the mat, step back plank. You can dip those knees down to low plank if you'd like. Slowly lower, chaturanga. Inhale, peel up. Use those back muscles, not so much pressing into the hands. And exhale, lowering down. And we're going to, again, muscle our ways up to plank, slight bend to the knees, root the hips back, down dog. A couple of breaths here in our down dog. Feeling the length of the spine. And then we will switch sides. So taking that left leg up high behind you, three-legged dog. And tucking the knee to the chest, wave out towards your plank. You're going to set your left foot in between your hands. Plant that back right foot, opening the toes up to the right side of your mat. So your feet are perpendicular, opening the arms up, warrior two. Gaze is over your left fingertips. Breathe here. Lift that left palm up and reverse your warrior. Getting into that sideways. Next inhale, back to your warrior two. And cartwheel the hands down to the mat. Again, just pausing here in your lunge. You can pivot the back right toes so they're facing forward. Plant the hands, so reaching the palms all the way down to the mat. Step back plank. Dip the knees down if you'd like. Slowly lower, hugging those elbows in towards your rib cage. Peeling up, cobra. Using those back muscles. And exhale, let's come on into our down dog just for a couple of breaths. Notice how your back feels, how those shoulders feel. We're going to compare this to another version of down dog in just a moment. Slight bend to the knees. Look up to your hands. Step your feet forward. Rise up halfway. And exhale, fold. Inhale, root to rise. We'll come all the way up to standing. And exhale, draw the hands to the heart space. All right, just a little side bend here. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Take that left hand to the right wrist and side bend over. In a moment, we are going to use that chair for down dog and also for half moon. We want to get into the side body. And inhale, come on up. Switch your grip. And side bend to the other side. Feel that length in that left side body. Inhale, come on up. Exhale, lower the hands to the heart space. All right, perfect. So hopefully everyone has that chair, roughly a foot from the top of your mat. And what we're going to do here is, depending on the flooring, like I'm on carpet, so I know my chair is not going to slide. If you do feel that you're like maybe on a wood floor or tile floor, then you want at least the front chair legs to be on your mat. But you're going to step back at least a foot or two to begin with. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. And on your exhale, you're going to swan dive down, and you're going to bring the hands to the seat of that chair. So you can kind of press the palms right in at that front edge. And then start to back your feet up. We're coming into down dog with that chair. So this is just a nice opening into the shoulders. Make sure you keep a nice little bend into the knees, just a slight bend. Gaze is down at the mat. Ears are between the biceps. Draw the navel to the spine. All right. And then we're going to step that right foot forward. And we're going to open that left foot out to the left. So left foot out to the left so that the feet are perpendicular. Cartwheel the arms open, warrior two. Gaze is over the right fingertips. So we're going to be coming into half moon from here. So you're going to reach this right hand to the seat of the chair, float that left leg up. Flex that lifted left leg. Reach with the left fingertips. Option to take the gaze upwards towards that left hand. Feel this work in the side leg muscles, the abductors of this lifted left leg. Let's take one more breath here. Our great chair support. Alternately, you could be using blocks. All right, very slowly, with control, we're going to take that left leg back, warrior two. And we're just going to cartwheel the hands down to the seat of the chair and then walk the legs back. Just another down dog with the hands on the chair. If you prefer, and you feel more steady, you can go ahead and just take those hands down to the mat. So it's just a choice, just something different to break it up here a little bit. You can get a little bit more opening in the shoulders and weight back into the hips this way. And then we're going to step the left foot, so it's about 4 or 5 inches back from the seat chair. Open this right foot up 90 degrees. Open up to the right, warrior two. All right, gazes over your left fingertips. So when we come into this pose, it's important to feel like we're keeping the shoulders and the hips stacked. You don't want to lean forward to come into this pose because you don't want the hips or the shoulders to drop forward or out of this sideways plane. So reach with the left hand to the seat chair, get that whole palm on there, float the right leg up. Hips stay open, stacking the shoulders, stacking the hips. I like to flex that lifted ankle. Helps me to really feel the energy into those leg abductors. Really use that chair for balance. If you have this, the gaze can go up to the lifted hand. Notice the spine is nice and horizontal from the crown of the head all the way through the tailbone, out through that right heel. Now with control, it's actually harder coming down than coming up. So bending that leg, coming down very softly back to your warrior two. Nice. And just gaze over the left fingertips. And then option to either cartwheel the hands to the seat chair for your down dog, or you can go ahead and get rid of your chair and come to an actual down dog onto the middle of your mat. Root your hips back. See if you can feel that same opening in your shoulders and lengthen your spine as you did when you felt the down dog using the chair. So it's just a little comparison. Slight bend to the knees, keep lengthening and rooting the hips back. And then let's just take the knees down to the mat, and whether you're with the chair or not, come all the way down to a wide leg child's pose. So big toes come together, knees are wide, reach the arms forward. Again, just kind of a familiar feeling of opening the shoulders. Feel the length in the spine, rooting the hips back. And of course, a nice open stretch of the hips. And then let's look up at our hands. Walk our hands together, but the arms are nice and long. And you're going to interlace the fingers. Tuck your chin to your chest, and then begin to bend the elbows so that the hands come back to the back of the neck. And once you're back there, maybe just a little massage to the back of the neck, top of the shoulders. Come on into cold weather. It's nice to keep these muscles relaxed and loose. Perfect. All right, reach the arms forward. And then let's come on up to hands and knees. And we'll just do one set of cat and cow here, traditional style. So inhale, lift the heart, lift the gaze, and then exhale, draw the navel to the spine, round into your cat pose. And neutral spine. And let's have a seat. So crossing the ankles and coming down to a nice Sukhasana seat. So we're going to end up winding up our practice with a lot of stretches on our back. But before we come down to our backs, let's just take a moment to notice how we're feeling. In Sukhasana, maybe close the eyes. Maybe a couple of huge eye breaths. And then very slowly, let's bring the feet out in front of us. Hands can come right alongside of the hips. We're just going to kind of do a little inchworm. We're going to press into the hands, take the hips forward so that you're about the front couple of feet from the top of your mat. And then you can just kind of hug these legs into your chest to maybe pick the heels up, flex and point the ankles, keep drawing the thighs to your chest. A little bit of core engagement. And whatever you're comfortable with here, perhaps you start to lift the ankles, maybe you reach the arms out in front for boat pose. Try to keep some length into the neck. You don't want to round the spine. And if you want to straighten those legs a little bit more, make sure you keep that thigh nice and long for boat pose. And then slowly with control, set those feet back down to the mat and lower all the way down to your back. Nice and slow. And if you want to take the arms overhead and stretch the legs out here, just a nice long supine stretch. So again, that nice comfortable opening in the shoulders like we had in down dog and in our wide knee child's pose. And then lowering the arms down next to your hips, bend your knees, and set your feet about hip distance apart. We're just going to kind of twist it out here. We did a little bit of twist at the beginning of our practice. Other than that, we didn't have a lot of twists going on. So just releasing any tension in the low back. Perfect. And then let's go ahead and let those knees fall all the way over to that right side. You can take the arms out to a T, look over that opposite left shoulder. You can change it up here any way you want. If you're going to pick up that lower right ankle and set it on the outer left knee, you can do that. Just feeling that twist. Slowing the breath down. And coming back to the center. And letting the knees fall the other way to the left. Gaze goes opposite direction as the knees. Top foot can cross over the outside of the thigh. Just a way to give yourself a little leverage in your twist. Try to breathe into those intercostal spaces. So in between the ribs. Using that full diaphragm. And then coming back to the center. All right, so we're going to take both legs up towards the ceiling. And you could flex and point your ankles here if that feels good to you, or you could roll the ankles out. Whatever feels good. You can make little circles. And then we're going to scissor the legs, right leg over left, bend the knees, squeeze the legs to the midline, and then maybe just curl up and reach your hands towards the shins or the ankles or even the big toes. So you're drawing those feet out to the side, maybe thighs are close to you. You can stay crunched up, forehead towards those knees, or you can just exhale, lengthen through the crown of the head and feel this great stretch. This is shoelace pose. I think this is well named. Gets into the piriformis. Same type of stretch as we do for pigeon. And then go ahead and release that and send both legs back up, and then we'll switch. So whichever leg wasn't crossed, so maybe the left over the right, bend the knees, crunch up. And you might find it easier or harder on the second side. Reach for shins or ankles or big toes, whatever you can get a hold of. You can stay scrunched up using the core muscles. Or exhale, let go. Maybe relax the shoulders. Lengthen through the crown of the head. You're drawing those thighs towards each other. Little squeeze there. And the thighs are coming towards your chest. Just a gentle pull on those legs. And exhale. Release again, taking the legs out to the ceiling. If you want to, you can take little circles, inner outer circles, maybe switching directions. I always love how this feels on my low back. Just a great little sacral massage. And then let's hug those knees into our chest. Maybe draw the forehead up to the knees. From here, just kind of decide for yourself which additional pose or two you want to do before Shavasana. Happy baby might feel great. If you didn't get enough twists and you want to go back to twists, you can do that. If you didn't get enough stretch in with the shoelace pose, you could come into that upside down pigeon. you have decided to do something asymmetrical, then you want to go ahead and switch sides now. And one more lengthening of the body, reaching the arms overhead. So just stretching from toes to fingertips. Stretch through the core. Maybe lift the belly up towards the ceiling. Get that nice stretch in the low back. And then exhale. Just release all the tension. Slide the arms down to your sides. Separate the feet about 2 feet apart. Turn those palms up towards the ceiling. Wiggle, if you need to, the shoulder blades underneath your back. And just one more last thing here before we completely come into Shavasana. Just rock your head from side to side. So I love this because it gives that nice little massage into the base of the skull. Even just kind of drawing the chin down towards the throat just a little bit. Just keeping that neck in a nice neutral plane. Just spiral, rocking side to side, and then slowing that down until you are in Shavasana. Very slowly here, begin to wiggle fingers and toes. Maybe take one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart space. Just take a couple of deep breaths. Creating an energy and a focus for your day. And then carefully gathering your knees up towards your chest. Give yourself a nice little squeeze. Rolling on to either your left or your right side. And just pausing here. Noticing how you feel. Maybe taking a little bit of this yoga off the mat with you as you press up to a seated position. And bring your hands together at the heart space. Gratitude for each one of you connecting with me today for our practice. The light in me honors that same light in each of you. Namaste.